Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Going to start the reassembly of the MS390, and I make a lot of mistakes along the way. This is the first time I've really worked on one of these saws start to finish, so I make a few mistakes, but I'll walk you through them. So we're starting the reassembly of the piston, crank, and cylinder here. I didn't end up doing anything to this cylinder. I'm putting it back together just basically stock. I didn't do any porting. I did clean up all the carbon that was in the exhaust port, but that's about it. This is where I was talking about using the dialectic grease on the rubber components. I do this a lot. I don't think it causes any issue with the rubber. I don't think it's going to break down the rubber over time or anything like that. I just put a little bit on there just to help the assembly process. It helps out a lot. Yep, I just put that bushing in the wrong way. I didn't even notice it until I went to put the handle on, and then I realized what I did. I am going to need to find a bar plate here to put on over top of that chain adjuster. That was another thing that was missing. I went ahead and put the oiler in right here and never even hooked up the new line in the tank. Once I realized it, I fortunately was able to install the line without pulling the oiler back out, but I did have to pull the clutch drum off so I could get in there. If you're taking any of your brake components apart, just a little tip, take a lot of pictures because there's a bunch of little parts in there. It gets a little bit confusing when you're putting things back together, but I can assure you they only go in one way correctly to have the brake function. And each saw is a little bit different, you know, manufacturer to manufacturer and even model to model sometimes. This is another component that was missing from the saw originally. Fortunately, the 029 part saw came in handy. It's a cover that protects all your brake components and keeps everything out of there and from getting dirty and stuff like that. Right here I went and made a critical error in assembling this saw. That cover actually has to go on after you put your ignition coil in because of the way that the coil wire is routed. So once I put this thing all together, I got really good at taking it back apart and doing it the right way. So unfortunately, I'm just about to the end of the footage that I have for this build. I thought I had recorded a bunch more after I'd taken a short break. Apparently, I never turned my camera back on. But in just a minute here, I'll get into the very end of the video where the saw is assembled and I start talking about it. All right, so we got the 390 back together, fully assembled. Missing a couple parts and pieces. Got to pick up a brake handle cup bushing there so I can put that one screw back in. I think I'm going to pick up a couple of new caps. This one, actually, when I took it all apart, I didn't pay attention to which one went on each side. They're both the same size, but the bushing on this cap was looser, and I actually had it on the gas side, so when I filled it up to run the saw, I had some gas leaking out here. Swapped the caps around. Now it's not leaking any gas. I haven't even put any oil in it yet, but I did run it. Fired right up, tuned the carb a little bit. The only thing I did do to this was I opened up the muffler a little bit behind the top plate there, and I did have an issue. I screwed up when I put this thing together. Like I said, if you watched the first video, I got this thing in pieces. It was just it was a mess. The handle wasn't on it. I was missing all the plugs. I did have a few. I'm still missing one here. If you notice right here, you'll see there's a little bit of RTV in there. So I'm gonna explain what happened. Because this was in pieces, I didn't know that there is supposed to be a spacer right here. And when I put it together, I put the screw in, and I actually put the screw straight through into the fuel tank. Poked a hole right through it. And I was so upset about it. I ended up, I just gooped it up with some RTV. I do have a whole nother lower end fuel tank. I may end up swapping it out if it doesn't hold, if it gives me a problem and starts to leak. But what I did was temporary until I can find out what that spacer is supposed to be. I just threw a nut in there just so the screw wouldn't go in so deep and puncture through. But yeah, it was my fault. I screwed up, didn't realize there was supposed to be a spacer. I punctured the tank. But fortunately, I do have another one. If it holds, I may just leave it. But anyway, I just ordered up a ring drive for this. The clutch bell that was on it was the old sprocket type, and it was actually pretty beat up. I've got a 325 pitch one right here, but I wanted to run a 3/8 chain. I had a 3/8 one. I put it on there, but it's a little clunky and beat up. So I like putting a ring drive on there because they're very smooth. And obviously, I think the smoother that it is, the less drag you have on it, the better they cut. So anyway, that's just my opinion on it. Yeah, it went back together pretty good. The air filter that I replaced, that's exactly what holds the top cover on. There's no extra bracket. I think I am missing a little black piece that goes inside here. I'll have to figure out where that goes, or where to get it, I mean. But yeah, so it just goes onto the filter and locks down. I wasn't sure if I was going to be missing anything there. Other than that, it's all back together. It does run. It runs, seems like it's pretty strong. We'll find out once I get that ring drive clutch bell. I'll throw a bar on there. I've only got, I think, a couple of steel bars here. I've got a short, like 16 or an 18-inch bar, and then I have a 32-inch bar. So 32 is probably a little big for this. I don't know. We'll try it out. But once I get the clutch bell, we'll get it running and see how it cuts. And see if there's any longevity to it. One of the things I got thinking about was these saws, I guess, are found burned up quite a bit. The factory carb on this has the limiters, and I think, you know, they're set up to run so lean from the factory. That might be why they burn up. I don't know. That in combination with, say, a clogged air filter, you know, I don't know if it would lean it out enough, or, you know, fuel starve it to the point that they start running hot and burn up. This is all just speculation, but I never like the carburetors that have the plastic lockouts on your high and low needle jet. I always take them off. It allows me to tune the saw better, and I always find that when they are on there, they're set up really lean, and I would imagine that has to do with EPA and, you know, that sort of stuff. But I'm wondering if you know, that plays a big part in why these saws get burned out in here. They start running hot and real lean. Just my theory on it. So yeah, now that I can dial the carb in a little bit more, that should be better for the saw. I think a little bit more fuel, run it a little safer. Anyway, the MS390 is back together, and we'll see how it goes once I get that clutch bell, and we'll get a bar and chain on it, and hopefully do a cutting video soon. I've got some wood that I got to cut. I don't burn a ton of wood anymore, just a little bit up here in the barn. I don't burn anything in the house, so I haven't cut a ton of wood yet this year. I mean, I've got probably a few cord out there that I've got to cut, so we'll do some videos with that. I got logs around here and stuff because I've got mill logs and stuff, older stuff that I'm not going to cut on the mill, but yeah, we'll have some stuff to cut up. But yeah, we'll try this out, and hopefully a couple other saws when we finish them and get them back together. I don't know, I think this thing cleaned up pretty good. Other than being a little sun faded, you know, nothing's cracked or broken. Like you say, a few missing screws here and there. I'll do something about the fuel caps, either just the O-ring or new caps altogether. I heard something about, my buddy was telling me that there's a recall on some of these caps, and whatever mold number, he sent me the whole article on it. I'll have to look it up, but it's like molds A, B, C, D, something like that. They're known for leaking. They have a problem with them. So he said something about there being a recall on it. I don't know. I have to look into that. But in the meantime, I'll see if I can pick up some caps and maybe investigate that whole thing a little bit more. Both of these caps have a letter B on them, and I think that might be part of that recall. So, but yeah, we'll have to check into that more. Like I said, pick up a couple of the bushing plugs. One there. I think I got all the other ones. Yeah, fortunately, I had an 029 parts saw and an 029. Yeah, it was an 029 Super. So a lot of it's the same. Some of it's different. Plastics are different, but yeah, the bottom end is I think identical. The jugs have the same, the cylinders, they have the same bolt pattern at the bottom. Obviously the 029 is smaller, but I believe the tanks are the same. The other one is screw caps. So if I do end up swapping it, I won't have to worry about these caps. But I think everything else will work. I believe it's the same. Don't quote me on that. I'm pretty sure they're the same. But I do know that the cylinder is the same bolt pattern. So yeah, that's it. Hopefully we'll get it cut in here, and it'll be a good saw. Thanks for watching.